Be seated. Davis, you may resume your cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Waldrep, it's true, is it not, that at some point in August of 2008, Mr. Preston filed a lawsuit in his capacity as county administrator against you and against Cindy Wilson?
Yes.
The allegations from that lawsuit were that you and Cindy Wilson were interfering with Mr. Preston's ability to do his job as a county administrator.
Yes, that's what he said.
The allegations from that lawsuit were that you and Miss Wilson were running afoul of the Home Rule Act.
Yes.
If you would, about 4 or 5 tabs down, there's a tab that's marked as Plaintiff's 1. Can you turn to that for me?
Minus 1.
Yes, sir.
Right.
This is the Preston Master Employment Agreement that you testified about on direct. Is it not?
Yes.
During the summer of 2008, you reviewed this contract, right?
2000, yeah.
Now, on page 1, if you look down at the bottom of the page, there's a section. And it talks about section 4-9-660. Do you see that?
I do.
And if you turn the page, Mr. Waldrep, at the top of the next page, there's a quote. Do you see that quote?
Yes.
And that quote says, "Except for the purposes of inquiries and investigations, the council shall deal with county officers and employees who are subject to the direction and supervision of the county administrator solely through the administrator, and neither the council nor its members shall give orders or instructions to any such officers or employees." That statute actually appears directly in Mr. Preston's master employment contract, does it not?
Yeah.
While we're here, can I turn your attention also to page 4 of this master employment contract? Do you see way down in the bottom where it says subparagraph E?
E, yeah.
And that paragraph says, and I quote, "Contemporaneously with the delivery of all severance pay and entitlements here and above set out, the administrator agrees to execute and deliver to the county a release, releasing the county of all further claims that the administrator may have against the county, end quote, right?
What it says.
And this provision appears underneath the termination without cause provision that Mr. Tessier talked to you about on direct examination, right?
Let me see, what are you saying exactly? Rephrase your question, do you mind?
I don't mind at all, sir. On direct examination, Mr. Tessier asked you questions about the buyout provision in Mr. Preston's master employment agreement. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And that buyout provision actually appears in Section 3B, under the section that says termination without cause, right?
Right.
And what we just looked at was subsection E underneath that provision. And what that provision reflects is the scope of the release that Mr. Preston was required to deliver upon payout of the severance monies. Does it not?
Upon payment to him, he's supposed to give a release, but that doesn't address the severance agreement itself. So it might be two different things we're looking at.
Well, what I'm asking you about is what paragraph E says. In paragraph
That's
E,
what it says, but I think you might be doing some legal interpretation and manipulation on that point. Because I think that maybe the judge, I've had a question for the judge, whether or not that.
well, let me ask you this. Can we agree that what subparagraph E says is that the administrator will agree to deliver to the county a release? Right? That's what
Yeah,
it
it
says.
says it will. Mm-hmm.
All right, now let's keep going. Mr. Waldrep, there came a point in time, did there not, when you became aware that the intent of Eddie Moore, a councilman-elect, was, in fact, to get rid of Joey Preston?
Mr. Davis, I cannot answer that because it's impossible to know the intent of Eddie Moore. It really is. I could surmise, I could speculate, I could do a lot of things, but I cannot tell you exactly what Mr. Moore's intentions were.
Will you turn back to Defense Exhibit 46 for me, sir?
Thank you.
Defense Exhibit 46. Could you turn
46. I've got 45.
Are you there?
Right. Yeah.
Defense Exhibit 46 is an email from Eddie Moore, right?
I did.
And it's an email to you.
Yes, I think it is.
And it's dated August 14th of 2008.
Yes.
And it states in the second sentence, and I quote, "He is desperate and just wants to freeze everything so we can't run him off," end quote.
Right.
And the next sentence says, and I quote, "I find it particularly interesting that you are getting the blame for my idea about suspension of finance director and himself," end quote. That's what he wrote to you, right?
What it said.
That's what he wrote to you, right?
That is what is in Exhibit 46, Mr. Davis. Yes, sir.
Let's keep going. Will you look
Do you have a
At
response?
Defense Exhibit 47 for me, sir.
Excuse me, do you have a response to that?
Mr. Waldrep, he's not required to respond to your questions.
All right.
You may proceed, Mr. Davis.
Can you look at Defense Exhibit 47 for me, sir? Is Defense Exhibit 47 an email from Eddie Moore?
Yes.
Is it dated September 23rd of 2008?
Yes.
Is it addressed to you?
You did.
Does it reflect that that coming Sunday there would be a meeting with Tom Beckwith?
It said, hey Bob, do you have the email addresses for Joey Preston, Gina Humphreys, and Linda Edelman? I want to send one requesting budget copies for us. I also talked with Tom Beckwith and Bob Daniels. That will be there on Sunday. That's what it said.
In September of 2008, sir, it's true, is it not, that you were meeting at your office with Bob Daniels to look at requested budget materials from the county?
I suppose so.
Mr. Waldrep, can you turn and look at Defense Exhibit number 22 for me? On direct examination, do you recall testifying that Mr. Bright never contacted you to try to ascertain what your opinion was in relation to the Preston matter?
Objection, Your Honor. That's not the testimony. He did say he talked to Tom Bright.
Beg your pardon?
That's not the test. The way he's characterized that testimony is not accurate.
Well, you can explain it. I mean, I'm not trying to say anything. That's what I thought I remembered him saying. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm not trying to
I'll allow him to
explain.
respond, and he can either admit or deny whether he made those statements. You may proceed, Mr. Waldrep.
Any question is?
It's true, is it not, that on October 13th of 2008, you were contacted by Tom Bright in order for him to ascertain what your view was about the Preston employment dispute?
I didn't keep a calendar on that, but if that's reflected in Mr. Bright's calendar, I would take what he said to be true.
Well, Mr. Bright is going to testify next, but these are his notes from his telephone conversation with you. And they're dated October 13th of 2008, aren't they?
I just know that I talked to Mr. Bright on maybe 2 or 3 occasions, but I didn't make notes as what or when, except to say that when I contacted Mr. Bright to ask him after the second meeting that he had with the Personnel Committee, whether his opinion had changed any from the first time he met with Mr. With the committee, because at that committee meeting, the first committee meeting we had, he had indicated that the offer made didn't have merit. At the second, and I wanted to know, in talking with him, whether or not his opinion had changed.
Okay, let me turn your attention back to Defense Exhibit 22. And I have a question for you. Did you, or do you, deny that on October 13th of 2008, you told Bob Waldrep that, and I quote, 5 council members want to buy out his contract, end quote.
Did I told that to Mr. Bryant?
Yes. Do you admit that?
That might be true because 5 council members did want to buy out his contract.
And you knew that as early as October 13th of 2008, right?
Not for sure, but I had every indication, I think, that they wanted to give Joey a parachute.
A parachute.
A golden
From
parachute.
your,
Yeah, golden
from your point of
parachute.
view, right? That's what you think.
That's my language.
And then, down below, these notes also reflect, in quotation marks, just cause, nothing concrete yet. And what I'd like to know is, do you deny that you told Mr. Bryant in a telephone conversation on October 13th of 2008 that there was nothing concrete to support just cause of the termination of Mr. Preston?
At that point, I may have said that because we hadn't had an opportunity to fulfill our investigation about Mr. Preston's activities.
At that point, it's all I'm asking.
No, that's what I said then.
During your direct examination, do you recall the line of questioning about the retention of Mr. Bryant?
The retention of Mr. Bright at the first meeting that we had?
Yes, sir. And during that line of questioning, what you said was the majority had the votes to get it done, right?
To appoint Mr. Bright?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I did.
You opposed it, but the majority had the votes, right?
Yeah, I was overruled, but I wouldn't have voted that way if I had known more about Mr. Bright. I just never met Mr. Bright, didn't know him, and it concerned me that the same crowd that was supporting Joey was asking to appoint Mr. Bright. That troubled me, and so that was the reason I voted against it.
The vote to hire Mr. Bryant.
Right.
It was a 5-2 vote, wasn't it?
I think, we met in that room, and I just remember voting against it. That's all I can remember because we were not in regular council. It looked like we were in some kind of committee room or something of that nature. So that's true. I voted against it. Right.
The severance agreement vote was a vote of either 5-2 or
Right.
5-1-1, wasn't it?
That's right.
Because the majority had the votes, right?
They did.
You were in the minority.
That's correct.
Now, during your direct examination, you talked about instances where you attended personnel committee meetings. Do you remember that?
Something about personnel, yeah.
And there was testimony at length about how you were excluded from those personnel committee meetings. Remember that?
That's correct. I remember that.
At the time that those personnel committee meetings occurred, in October and in November, it is true, is it not, that you were the defendant in a lawsuit that was filed by the county administrator?
The timing might be that.
The timing is in fact that.
Yeah, okay, well, if it is, I wouldn't argue with that.
Notwithstanding that lawsuit that was filed against you in your individual capacity,
That was the usual vote.
Notwithstanding that lawsuit filed against you in your individual capacity, you wanted to attend and participate in the personnel committee meetings that were discussing Mr. Preston's employment dispute.
Mr. Davis.
Is that a yes or no?
Wait a minute, let me get, can I answer?
Yeah, answer yes or no and then explain.
Okay. I wanted to find out what the recommendations were of the personnel and to know what was going on, because under our ordinance, we are encouraged to go to all committee meetings.
There were personnel committee meetings, right?
Any committee meeting.
I'm talking about these two. There were 2 personnel committee meetings about Joey Preston, right?
Right.
You attended them, right? During those 2 meetings,
I tried to get into the first one,
right?
and over the objection of Mr. Wilson, I think it was, I was able to attend because Mr. Greer read the statute the same way I did, and I was encouraged to attend. The second meeting I had, I think they changed their position and said I could not attend, and I intended to attend.
And my question is actually much more simple. During the pendency of both of those personnel committee meetings, you were the defendant in a lawsuit that was filed by
That's right.
Mr. Preston as county administrator.
That's right.
Mr. Waldrep, can you turn the page and look at Defense Exhibit 48 for me?